departure gate, the agent scanned my pass twice before looking up at me. "I'm sorry, Miss Parker. This reservation was canceled yesterday." Behind the glass, I could already see my family walking toward the jet bridge. My mother adjusted her cream scarf. My brother lifted his carry-on over one shoulder. My older sister, Camille, was laughing with her husband, as if nothing unusual had happened. My 8-year-old son, Noah, pressed his palm against the window and waved. None of them turned around. That evening, after ignoring every call I made, Camille finally sent one message. "Maybe this trip will be easier without you. You're always making everything complicated." I read it 3 times. Then I typed back, "Enjoy Quebec. By the time you return, things will be much simpler." She reacted with a laughing emoji. 4 days later, no one in my family was laughing. The trip had been planned since October. 7 nights at a restored stone lodge outside Mont Tremblant, with heated floors, private chefs for New Year's Eve, snowmobile rentals, and a wall of windows facing the frozen lake. Camille had flooded our family chat with photographed and booking links until everyone agreed. I transferred my share first, $1,480 for Noah and me. That wasn't unusual. I was always the person who paid early, checked confirmations, fixed mistakes, and quietly covered whatever someone else forgot. My parents called me responsible. What they meant was useful. At the airport, I still believed the cancellation had to be an error. The terminal was packed with holiday travelers dragging oversized suitcases between coffee stands and security lines. Noah stood beside me in his green winter coat, holding the little backpack he had packed himself. Inside were 2 comic books, a stuffed fox, and a list of French words he wanted to practice in Canada. When the gate agent asked who had made the reservation, I pointed toward Camille. My sister organized the group booking. The agent glanced at the screen again. Her expression changed slightly. "The cancellation was made using the primary passenger's confirmation code," she said. "It wasn't done by the airline." My stomach tightened. "Can you restore it?" "The flight is full. I can put you on standby for tomorrow, but your son's ticket was canceled too." Noah looked up at me. "Are Grandma and Grandpa waiting on the plane?" I called my mother. No answer. I called my father. Straight to voicemail. I texted Owen, my younger brother. "My ticket was canceled. Please come back." The message showed as read. He kept walking. Through the window, I watched Camille hand her boarding pass to the attendant. For 1 second, she turned her head in my direction. Our eyes almost met. Then she faced forward and disappeared down the bridge. That was when I understood. This was not an accident they had discovered at the gate. It was a decision they had made before leaving home, and every one of them had known about it.
The ride home took 40 minutes, but it felt much longer. Noah sat beside me in the back seat, staring out at the city lights. He asked if we had done something wrong. I told him no. He nodded and looked away. At the apartment, he carried his backpack to his room. I waited until he was asleep before opening the family chat. 4 days earlier, Camille had written, "I'll handle the final confirmations. Nobody needs to call the airline." Everyone had agreed. I scrolled farther. There were jokes about rooms, dinners, and champagne. Not one message mentioned that Noah and I were no longer going. At 9:47 p.m., Camille finally answered. "You should have realized this wasn't really your kind of trip." I asked one question. "What happened to the money I paid?" Her reply came immediately. "It covered non-refundable expenses. Don't turn this into another family crisis." That's what they called it whenever I refused to clean up a problem quietly. For 12 years, I had managed everything they ignored. My parents' electricity, insurance, and property taxes came from accounts I monitored. Owen's truck loan was tied to a savings fund we shared. Camille carried a credit card in my name for emergencies. The lodge deposit was also on my card. They had removed me because they believed I would keep paying anyway. I opened my laptop. I checked the family emergency fund first. More than half the money had come from me. I transferred my contributions into a private account and removed myself as manager. Next came my parents' automatic payments. I did not cancel their bills. I removed my card and changed the billing contact to my father's email. Then I closed the streaming plans, disconnected Camille's phone from my family plan, and froze the secondary credit card she carried. Every action was legal. Every dollar I moved belonged to me. I saved the statements in a folder called Exit. At 11:16 p.m., I received the first alert. Camille Parker attempted a purchase for $286.44. Transaction declined. A minute later, my phone rang. I let it ring. Then came a text. "Did you freeze my card?" I did not answer. At midnight, I canceled the remaining lodge payments scheduled on my account. The reservation was under Camille's name, so the manager would contact her. Finally, I emailed the airline asking who had canceled our tickets and when. By 1 a.m., everything that belonged to me was separated from everything that belonged to them. The next morning, Camille posted a video from the lodge. Snow drifted past the windows while music played over the fireplace. Her caption read, "Protect your peace." I almost laughed. Instead, I made pancakes for Noah and promised we would build the biggest snow den in the park. At 10:23 a.m., Camille called again. At 10:25, my mother called. At 10:31, Owen sent a message. "What did you do?" I typed the only answer they needed. "I stopped paying for people who left us at the gate." I pressed send and waited. The family chat stayed silent for 5 minutes. Then Camille replied, "You're being dramatic." My mother added, "We can discuss this when we get back." Owen wrote nothing. I took Noah to the park. He spent an hour digging a tunnel through a snowbank. I helped him shape the entrance and ignored my phone. By noon, there were 9 missed calls. At 12:18, the lodge manager emailed me. The $3,900 installment had failed. Because my card had been removed, the guest needed another payment method before 6. Otherwise, the reservation would be shortened and extra fees might apply. I replied with one sentence. I am no longer part of that reservation. At 12:31, Camille called. "Rachel, stop acting insane. We're already here. Put the card back and we'll deal with everything later." Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "We shouldn't have canceled your ticket." Just another instruction. I saved the voicemail in the exit folder. That afternoon, the airline answered my request. The cancellation had been submitted 2 days before departure. Both my ticket and Noah's had been selected manually. The refund had been issued as travel credit to the primary account holder. Camille had not only removed us, she had kept the credit. I saved the email too. At 4:06 p.m., my father called. I almost answered. Then I remembered Noah waving through the glass while my father walked away. I let it end. His voicemail was short. "Your sister made a bad choice, but you're punishing everyone. Call me before this gets worse." He admitted she had done it. It was their first honest admission. At 6, Camille's card was declined. At 6:12, Owen texted me privately. Did she really cancel both tickets? I sent him the airline email. 3 dots appeared, vanished, then returned. "I didn't know," he wrote. "You read my message at the gate. I thought you decided not to come. Then why didn't you turn around?" He never answered. The family chat exploded. Camille accused me of humiliating her. My mother said I was ruining New Year's. My father demanded that I restore the payment. No one mentioned Noah. So I wrote, "You canceled a child's ticket, kept the travel credit, and boarded without looking back. Pay for your own vacation." Camille responded with an angry voice message. She said I had always been jealous and that I brought tension everywhere I went. Then she made one mistake. "We all agreed you shouldn't come." The message disappeared 30 seconds later, but I had already downloaded it. The next morning, the manager gave them until noon to settle the balance. Camille's husband covered part of it, but not enough. My parents tried their cards. One was at its limit, the other was frozen after several failed charges. By 9 a.m., they were calling every relative they knew. At 10 a.m., my Aunt Denise called me. "What exactly happened at the airport?" she asked. For the first time, someone wanted the truth instead of a favor. So I told her everything.
Aunt Denise listened without interrupting. When I finished, she stayed quiet for several seconds. "Rachel," she said, "they told everyone you canceled because Noah was sick." Of course they had. Camille had turned her decision into my excuse before the plane even landed. I forwarded Denise the airline email, the deleted voice message, and Camille's text asking why I had frozen her card. 10 minutes later, the family chat changed. Denise wrote, "Why was Rachel's travel credit sent to Camille's account?" Nobody answered. Then my uncle asked why Noah's ticket had been canceled too. My mother replied, "This is private." Denise answered, "It stopped being private when you lied to us." Other relatives began asking the questions my family had avoided. By noon, the lodge balance was paid. Camille's husband borrowed money from his brother, and my parents used a cash advance for the rest. They could stay. But the damage had already started. That afternoon, my father discovered the mortgage payment had not been scheduled. For years, I transferred money into the household account and confirmed it every month. This time, I moved only my portion and removed the reminder. It had simply stopped receiving mine. My father sent a screenshot of the overdue notice. "Fix this now." I replied, "The account is yours. The login details are in the folder I gave you last spring." He called 6 times. I did not answer. Camille tried another approach. She sent a photograph of the lodge dining room. Candles, wine glasses, snow beyond the windows. "This could have been a beautiful week. You chose to destroy it." I stared at it and thought about Noah's backpack by our front door. "No," I wrote, "you chose who was allowed to be there." She blocked me. 2 hours later, she unblocked me and asked for the airline credit. I told her to return it. She claimed it had already been used for baggage upgrades and seat changes. That was when I contacted the airline again. I explained that credit from tickets purchased for my son and me had been applied to other passengers after our reservation was canceled without consent. The representative opened a fraud review. I submitted the confirmation numbers, payment receipt, and email history. At 7:42 p.m., Camille received the same notice I did. "Account under review. Travel credit temporarily suspended." Her next message was not angry. It was frightened. "Rachel, what exactly did you tell them?" I helped Noah decorate cookies. Blue icing covered his fingers. He laughed when one snowman came out shaped like a potato. For the first time since the airport, I felt calm. Not happy, not yet, but calm. The next morning, Owen called from a number I did not recognize. I answered. He said he had left the lodge early and was driving back alone. Camille and our parents were still there, but no one was speaking. Then he said something I never expected. "There's more you don't know about why they excluded you."
Owen's voice tightened. "They didn't exclude you because of the trip," he said. "The trip was where they decided to prove a point. I asked what he meant. He told me Camille had been angry since September, when our parents met with an estate planner. My father wanted to add me as co-executor because I already handled their finances. Camille found out and accused them of treating me like the only responsible child. She said you controlled everything, Owen continued. Mom agreed you had too much influence. They thought if they planned something without you, it would show they didn't need you. The unpaid bills and frantic calls had already answered that question. Did Dad know she canceled the tickets? A long pause. Yes. What about you? I knew they wanted you out of the trip, he admitted. Camille said you'd probably back out after an argument. I didn't know she canceled Noah's ticket until you sent the email. But you saw us at the gate. I saw you, he said quietly. I pretended I didn't. Camille had convinced everyone that I would complain about costs, question the schedule, and make the week uncomfortable. My parents did not challenge her to avoid conflict, so they avoided conflict with Camille by creating it with me. He apologized. Not perfectly, but he said the words no one else had said. I'm sorry I walked away from you and Noah. Thank you for saying it. He asked whether I would restore the accounts if our parents apologized. No. An apology might change whether I spoke to them again, but it would not return me to the role I had spent years performing. Their bills, loans, emergencies, and vacations would remain their responsibility. That part is over. That evening, my mother messaged asking to see Noah. She wrote as if the airport had never happened. Tell him Grandma misses him. I replied, he waved to you at the gate. She wrote, we handled that badly. I asked one question. Why did you let Camille cancel his ticket? Her response took 20 minutes. We thought it would be easier if you both stayed home. There it was. Not confusion, not a mistake, a calculation. I saved the message and muted her. The airline called in the morning. Their review showed that Camille had used $860 of our travel credit for seat upgrades, luggage fees, and lounge access. The remaining balance would be restored to me. They also opened a claim for the used amount. Camille received the notice before I finished the call. She sent 12 messages in 6 minutes. The first 5 blamed me, the next 4 demanded that I withdraw the complaint, the final 3 asked whether we could settle this privately. I replied, you had that option before you canceled my child's ticket. At 12, someone knocked. It was my mother. She stood in the hallway holding Noah's wrapped Christmas gift and an envelope thick enough to contain money. But she was not alone. My father stood behind her, and beside him was Camille.
My mother raised one hand before I could close the door. Please, 5 minutes. Noah was in the living room, building a cardboard castle. I did not want him hearing a new argument, so I stepped into the hallway and pulled the door almost shut. Camille looked exhausted. We brought your money, Dad said. Inside was a cashier's check for $1,480, the full amount I had paid. I looked at Camille. And the airline credit? They froze my account, she said. Isn't that enough? No? My father sighed. Take the check. We'll sort out the rest later. You always say that when you want me quiet. My mother glanced toward the apartment. Can we see Noah? No. You can't keep our grandson from us because you're angry. I'm protecting him from people who decided he was inconvenient. Camille crossed her arms. You're acting like we abandoned him. He went home with his mother. You canceled his ticket without telling me. You would have made a scene. You created the scene. For once, she had no answer. My father lowered his voice. We made a mistake. A mistake is booking the wrong flight. You planned this. Mom said they feared I would control the vacation. She claimed I questioned every expense and made everyone feel judged. I asked why they accepted my money if they did not want me there. Nobody answered. That silence told me everything. They wanted my contribution without my presence, my help without my opinions, my money without my son. I handed the check back. Deposit it into the trip account. The airline will recover what Camille spent. After that, we are even. Dad frowned. Then what do you want? Nothing. They understood guilt, not someone who no longer wanted a place at their table. Camille's voice sharpened. You're destroying this family over one vacation. No, I'm leaving a system where I only mattered when something needed fixing. My mother offered Noah's present again. I took it for him. Do not come here without asking again. They left. That night, Noah opened the gift. It was the remote control car he had wanted. Is Grandma sorry? He asked. She says she is. Does saying sorry make the airport not happen? No. Then what does it do? It gives someone a chance to behave differently next time. He looked down at the car. Are we giving them another chance? Not yet. The next morning, my parents' attorney emailed me. Dad had requested that my name be removed as co-executor and financial contact. For the first time in years, one of their decisions brought relief. I accepted and attached a document listing every account, payment date, reset link, and service I had managed. At the bottom, I wrote, effective immediately, I will not provide financial administration, emergency loans, account access, or payment support. I copied all 3. Camille replied first, you'll regret making everything so permanent. I closed the message. Permanence was exactly what I wanted. 3 weeks passed without another visit. The silence felt unfamiliar. No late-night calls about overdrafts, no screenshots of bills marked urgent, no messages asking whether I could just handle something before work. For years, I had mistaken exhaustion for closeness. Without their problems filling every empty space, I started noticing how much of my own life I had postponed. I opened a savings account for Noah. I changed my insurance information and removed every relative from accounts they had no reason to access. Then I booked 2 tickets to Banff. No group reservation, no shared spreadsheet, no one else's card attached, just Noah and me. When I showed him the cabin, he stared at the lake and asked, "Are these tickets real?" The question hurt deeply. "Yes," I said, "and nobody else can cancel them." He smiled so widely that I looked away. 2 days before we left, Owen came by. This time he texted first. He brought coffee, a board game for Noah, and no request for money. We sat at the kitchen table while Noah finished homework. Owen told me Dad had taken over the bills and missed an insurance payment. Mom was angry at Camille because the airline charged her for the credit. Camille blamed everyone except herself. "They barely speak now," he said. "That isn't my problem. I do know." He pushed his coffee cup between his hands. "I keep thinking about the gate." "So do I. I should have turned around." "Yes." He nodded. There was no excuse left, and I respected him for not inventing one. Before leaving, he asked whether he could take Noah to a hockey game after we returned. I told him he could ask Noah himself. That was the first relationship I allowed back in, but under new rules. No secrets, no financial dependence, no pretending cruelty was a misunderstanding. The morning of our flight, the airport looked different, maybe because we arrived early, maybe because nobody was waiting ahead. Noah wore the same green coat. His stuffed fox stuck out of his backpack, and he held both boarding passes like treasure. At the gate, the agent scanned his ticket. A green light appeared, then mine. Another green light. No hesitation, no second screen, no family disappearing down a bridge. Noah squeezed my hand. "We're really going." "We really are." As we boarded, my phone buzzed. A message from Mom. "Your father's account is locked. Please call before you leave." Then another from Camille. "You've punished us enough." I turned my phone to airplane mode. From his window seat, Noah pointed at the runway. Snow dusted the wings, and sunlight reflected across the glass. "Mom," he said, "look." I did. For once, I wasn't looking backward. When we landed in Calgary, one final voicemail waited. Dad said the family was ready to apologize and asked me to come to dinner after we returned. I saved it, but I did not answer. An apology could wait. This trip belonged to us. And this time, nobody was being left behind.
Banff was quieter than I expected. Our cabin stood beyond a narrow road lined with pines, its roof buried under fresh snow. Inside, there was a stone fireplace and a window facing the mountains. Noah ran from room to room as if we owned it. That evening, we made hot chocolate and watched snow cover the deck. Noah asked whether I was still angry. "I'm not sure," I said, "but I'm not waiting for them to understand anymore." The next few days were simple. We rode a gondola, tried ice skating, and spent an afternoon on a dog sled trail. Noah fell twice, laughed both times, and wanted photographs of everything. I posted only one. It showed him beside the frozen lake with both arms raised. The caption read, "Paid for, confirmed, no one removed." By morning, Aunt Denise had sent a heart. Owen wrote, "He looks happy." Camille posted a quote. I ignored it. My mother called once. Dad called twice. I let both go to voicemail. On our final night, Noah and I sat before the fire playing cards. "Can we come back next year?" he asked. "Yes." "You don't have to ask Grandma?" "No." "Or Aunt Camille?" "No." He grinned. Good. After he fell asleep, I listened to Dad's voicemail. He admitted Camille planned the cancellation, but said he and Mom allowed it because they were tired of walking on eggshells around me. Then his voice changed. Camille refused to help. Owen had stopped answering requests for money. "We understand how much you did," he said. "Please come home and help us repair this." That was their apology. Not regret for what they had done. Regret that I was no longer useful. I deleted the voicemail. Noah slept against my shoulder while clouds passed below us. When we landed, one message waited from Camille. "You proved your point. Was destroying the family worth it?" I wrote, "I didn't destroy it. I stopped holding it together alone." Then I blocked her. Life became quieter. Owen took Noah to a hockey game and never asked me to pay. Aunt Denise invited us to dinner. My parents mailed 2 letters. I returned both unopened. Months later, Mom sent a handwritten apology addressed to Noah. She wrote that she saw him wave at the gate and looked away because turning back would have forced her to face her choice. I gave the letter to Noah. He asked if he had to forgive her. "No," I said. "Forgiveness is yours to choose. Access to your life is something people earn." He placed the letter in his desk drawer. Maybe one day he would answer. Maybe I would too. But we would never return to the old arrangement. My family believed they could erase us from a vacation and still keep everything I provided. They thought I would absorb the humiliation, fix the payments, and welcome them home. Instead, I stepped away. Their lives did not collapse because I attacked them. They collapsed because the person supporting everything was no longer there. And mine finally began because I stopped confusing being needed with being loved.